Okay, good afternoon, everyone. David here and Stephanie Yurchik, our other fellow director, is on the call, and we're so happy that over 40 of you have joined us this afternoon from the three classes for our October board meeting call to talk about some things that were going on. We do have two guest visitors with us today, coordinators who have things going on within the zone that they'd like to talk to you about. And assuming they're on the call, I'm going to call on them now. First is Patrick Eats on the phone. Patrick.
I am on the call, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and you have the floor, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you, David and Stephanie, for giving me a few minutes to talk about an event we have coming up in about 1 month. On December 14th, we're going to have a big membership event primarily for District 7280, 7305, and 73360. And for those of you who may not be completely familiar with those districts yet, those are our new friends who are in Western Pennsylvania, as well as a little bit of West Virginia and Maryland. And as we know, they are part of Zone 33. And so we're having a big membership event there and an opportunity for the coordinators from the old Zone 33 to get to know them and to welcome them. And of course, we'll be doing a lot of that in Atlanta as well next week. But we have kind of a middle of the day membership event there that'll be followed by a holiday mixer afterward. And we will have there, of course, our governor chains from the three districts, as well as the district membership teams, assistant governors, and club membership teams, their committees. So a good opportunity to talk about trends in membership and some of the changes that are taking place in membership, and hopefully equip the leaders of those clubs and districts with tools to work in that area that is so important, frankly, to all of us in Rotary. And I'm also excited about the mixer that will follow late that afternoon, a holiday mixer, a Grow Rotary holiday mixer. And Stephanie's been kind enough to get that worked out for us and sponsor that. And we'll have a little bit of fun at that while we still promote growing Rotary. And bring this up to all of you, one, so that you're aware, but secondly, that you're aware that your Rotary coordinator team is available to assist you, whether it be an event like this or if it's just in general support, providing you resources, ideas, cross-pollinating with other district things that we're doing, so that you're aware that we're there to support you. I know that we've already taken part in helping with 5 membership seminars or summits in your particular districts within Zone 33, and we're certainly available to help you with those types of events, as well as your pets, your training assemblies, other trainings that you're going to have in your districts as we move through the winter and into the spring. So just wanted to let you know that we'll be excited to work with our new friends primarily in Pennsylvania, and that we're available to help you whenever you need us.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. We appreciate those comments. And we also should have George Robertson Burnett on the phone to talk to us a little bit about leap year. George, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, David. I hope you can all hear me. Good afternoon, everyone.
We can, and you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invite, David and Stephanie. I really appreciate it. And first of all, just like to say to all my friends there in the Governor Corps, etc., that I unfortunately will not be with you in Atlanta. For some of you who know, I've had some medical issues and physically have been a little bit incapacitated. Fortunately, the mind is still working as it always was, although I'm sure some of you believe that may not be a good thing. However, I did want to thank David and Stephanie for giving me the opportunity to speak to you about a great event that's coming up in Zone 34, and that is Leap into Rotary. Some of my team felt because it's a leap year next year, we should actually have an event in February on the 29th, or round about the 29th, called Leap into Rotary. And the idea is that we've been using parties to introduce new people to Rotary in a softer way, not in your face, this is Rotary, but more getting to know people and then inviting them once they know us. And so it's a party with a purpose, and you can find out all the details with regard to Leap into Rotary on the website. That's the Zone 3334 website. If you go to resources, and you'll find Leap into Rotary in the resources of the coordinators. It explains exactly how this all works. There's a great timeline. There is examples of the invitations and how this should work. And if you need any further guidance, of course, we have an excellent team who will be introduced to you individually up in Atlanta next week. But if you need any further assistance, please feel free to call me or anyone on that team. And I hope that you find Leap into Rotary a good possibility, because it does come at a time when perhaps we've put a lot of effort into our membership and we've just suffered that half-year slump that we always get in December at the time of the semi-annual dues invoices. As you know, we suffer membership loss at that time, and our heads go down a little bit. So February is an ideal time to get us to reinforce the fact that we're driving towards positive membership for the end of the year. So the timing is good, and let's face it, who doesn't like a party? So it's utilizing party. Let me tell you that where these have been used in the past, they have been used very, very successfully. So please take the time to have a look at that. Your membership chair in Zone 34 for your district will be aware of this, because it all has been put out to them. And with regard to your DMCs, I would just like to also give an advert for the fact that we have a DMC meeting in March in Orlando for all DMCs in Zone 34. Please, please encourage your DMC to be there. That will be funded from Rotary, not from your district budget, and it's very important that they're there. And just a reminder, just as Patrick did, you know, our Rotary coordinator teams available for weddings, bar mitzvahs, conferences, district events. Just give us a call. And of course, whilst I haven't been able to do that for a number of weeks now, I'm looking forward to getting back on the road next month, and that includes club visits if they're felt necessary. So thank you for the opportunity. If you need any more information about Leap into Rotary, please just give me a call or call anyone on the team. Have a great time in Orlando. Sorry, not Orlando, in Atlanta. I'm so sorry I won't be there with you, but have a fabulous time. Thank you.
Thank you, George and Patrick. Appreciate you all being with us today, and get you on the front so you don't have to stay the whole meeting again, since you sat through it last week. Several items of interest and information from the board meeting in October, and a good number of items that the board took action that we're very excited about. First of all, we heard a membership report. Of course, maybe some of you have seen that. We were down for the year ended 5,600 members. However, we were up 209 new Rotary clubs for the year. So we are growing the number of clubs. Now we've just got to take the Grow Rotary initiative and grow our raw numbers as well. We looked at and approved a pilot partnership with something called the Global Partnership for Education. It's a global fund that aims to strengthen education systems in developing countries. But more importantly, relative to likes of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who have been resource partners with us, we approved a resource partnership with the Eleanor Crook Foundation. And what it will do, it will involve a nutrition initiative in sub-Sahara Africa. We're so excited about this as an organization, because they will be putting $2.5 million of their money into this, and the Rotary Foundation will be a contributor to as well. So the initial project will be $5 million, and that we are expecting, from what they've told us, that the Eleanor Crook Foundation will continue to be a resource partner for us, not just a partner in name. We approved a Rotary Fellowship for the Rotary Peace Fellowship Alumni Association. And the big item of interest and discussion was that of Rotaract. As you all are aware, President Mark appointed an Elevate Rotaract task force this year, and I happened to be the chair of that. We met 2 days in Evanston with Rotaractors and Rotarians around the world, about 8 of us in the last week in August, and we came out with some what we thought a pretty good start toward elevating Rotaract. I'll go through the items now. As we're talking, you don't really need to worry about writing them down unless you want to. As soon as the meeting's over, I will send you the board highlights for each of you, and then we'll be recorded. We are recording this call, but it'll be on the website within by tomorrow at least. But in terms of the Rotaract clubs, these items were all approved by the board. First of all, Rotaract clubs currently have had to have a Rotary club sponsor, but we did remove that criteria that a Rotaract club can sponsor without another Rotaract club. And a Rotaract club can also sponsor with another Rotaract club if they'd like to. There was a good amount of discussion about the age requirement for phasing out of Rotary, aging out of Rotaract. The age limit has been 30 years old. And after a good number of discussion from people all around the world on the board did remove the upper age limit for Rotaract. However, we are still maintaining and have it in print where we talk about it, that the program is for young adults. The consensus around the room was that any number that we come up with is an arbitrary number, and the number varies from year to year. Is what's appropriate, and more importantly, varies from geographical region around the world about when young people have come to of adult age and mature age and professional age and that type of thing. So we did decide to remove the age limit. We also passed a resolution to strongly encourage Rotary districts to include Rotaractors in every district committee. As we are integrating Rotaract into our organization, that is very important that we interface and interact with the Rotaractors in both community-based and university-based clubs. Last winter, we did a survey around the world. The response was not great. This response was statistically valid for a lot of the world, but not all of the world. So we had about 3,000 respondees. About 3 weeks ago, we sent out a survey to all of the Rotaractors that we've identified, which is about just under 200,000 Rotaractors around the world. So far, the response rate has been a little over 12,000 people, and it's growing every day. They are responding in a great numbers, and we have enough responses now that we do have statistical validity for all parts of the planet, but we're going to try to continue to get those in over the next few weeks. And I bring that up because the board has discussed 2 quarters now about dues for Rotaractors, and we decided the one quote unquote can that we kicked down the road was to defer discussion on Rotaract dues until the January meeting after this survey from around the world is done. But the board does have plans and does have intent, and Rotaractors overwhelmingly are supporting that they pay dues to Rotaract. It's just at the point now that we've got to determine what is a reasonable and equitable amount around the world. But you should expect that the board will probably take action on dues in the January meeting, possibly not until the April meeting, but at any rate for implementation of 1 July of 2020. Up until this point, or as of now, going back, the only fee to a Rotaract club from Rotary has been that of a $50 chartering fee to Rotaract clubs. But we did vote that beginning 1 July, that will go away, provided that we do have a per capita dues structure in place. It was just a minuscule fee to begin with, another one of those arbitrary things that didn't make a lot of sense to us. As some of you know, because you were there and experienced it, Rotaractors were in place at the International Convention. We had a number of those last year, close to 70 Rotaractors, and the board did by action vote to encourage future presidents of RI to invite at least a number of Rotaractors to the International Assembly in mingling and working with and getting to know the district governors that are coming into our different districts and zones. We also encourage the RI presidents, future RI presidents, to appoint Rotaractors as advisors to RI committees. Committees are set with their structure, but we can appoint advisors, and we're encouraging the president-elect to do that. One thing that came out of our Elevate Rotaract task force meeting was that of a Rotary mobile app. Most organizations, professional and vocational organizations, do have a functioning mobile app, and as you know, about all we have is the Rotary Rewards. It's not a full functioning app. We did take that to the board from the Elevate Rotaract to develop a mobile app to better facilitate Rotary and Rotaract management, communications, and that type of thing. And the board did agree to pursue that. We had our IT experts in, and they said that they thought that could be forthcoming, hopefully by 1 July. We set goals for Interact, increase the number of reported Rotaractors by 100% by 2022, which is 3 years, and then increase the number of reported Rotaractors that join Rotary clubs by 20% by 2022, with a longer-term intent of increasing Rotaract to 1 million members by 2029. And I don't think that Director-elect Peter is on the phone because I know he's traveling on the other side of the planet, but I'm just going to pause just a moment and say, Peter, have you signed in that I didn't know it? Okay, he's not. He had some things that he wanted to talk about of Rotaract initiatives that are going on in Zone 33 if he didn't make the call, but I guess he didn't have a connection. So with that, I'll turn the program over to Director Stephanie to talk about other actions that we did. Stephanie, are you with us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Great. Okay. Before I move on and talk about the meetings, I wanted to just share with everybody on the call one thing that you might find helpful. You know, Rotary has a lot of different kinds of partnerships. There are service partnerships and strategic partnerships and resource partnerships that David alluded to with the new one with the Eleanor Crook Foundation. So if you're interested in learning more about what kinds of partnerships we have and who is a certain kind of partner, I would direct you to the partnerships page of Rotary.org. For instance, a service partnership is generally somebody who has work in a specific area that supports one of our causes. Shelter Box is a good example of a service partner. So if you're interested in learning more about partnerships, please take a look at the website. All right, so at our board meeting, the board accepted a proposal from 12 districts in Taiwan that have agreed to host our 2021 International Convention in June in Taipei. So you can mark your calendars. If those of you who are interested in traveling to a convention, it will be June 12th to the 16th in Taipei, Taiwan. The other thing that we talked about and the board approved was that in 2026, that will be the first year of a cycle of 7 years that Rotary is going to hold its convention in a city that doesn't necessarily meet all of the criteria to host a convention. And they've agreed to solicit proposals from a variety of places, including Durban in South Africa, Genoa in Italy, Krakow in Poland, Manila in the Philippines, Rimini in Italy, Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, and Trondheim, Norway. And again, this is an effort by Rotary to broaden the places where we hold conventions, and our convention staff is working very hard to overcome whatever it is, whatever criteria it is that the particular city isn't quite up to par. They're working very, very diligently to overcome that. So I'll turn it back over to David, who's going to give you some information about administration and finance decisions that were taken.
one benefit we think of being on a call, talking face to face, we can explain some things to you that might not be knowledgeable otherwise if you just read the root of it. There was a significant change in the procedure this year of how trustees are elected to the Board of Trustees of the Rotary Foundation. In the past, the president-elect brings 3 names of candidates that he or she would like to proffer from around the world as Rotarians, and then brings 1 name. The way our Constitution is written, brings the name of 1 past president of Rotary International. That process was changed this past year so that it read that the president-elect will bring at least twice the number of candidates for consideration than they had seats open for the 3 or 4, depending on the year, open seats. Holger was I thought, and I think Director Stephanie would agree, very progressive in how he handled that this year. So he had 3 seats to recommend the trustee for, and that meant he had to bring 6 candidates. There were actually 9 candidates that in the offing that were put up for the trustee position, and Holger brought all 9 names. He said, I would be happy to serve with any 3 of these that you elect, so I'm bringing all the names that came before me rather than weeding it down myself. We'll let the board vote. So the board, for the first time, did actually choose the directors of the new trustees of the Board of Trustees to come in. And I thought that was pretty good change, we thought. First of all, we elected Singmin Lin, Gita Manek, Aziz Mimam, and Barry Rassin as the past president of Rotary International that would serve. Do any of you, maybe just to nod your head, any of you remember hearing Barry Rassin talk about the gentleman who said he wanted to talk to ISIS and that he wanted to not ISIS, wanted to talk to the Taliban. Kim's over there correcting me, thankfully. And so somebody showed up at his house one day with a bunch of machine guns and some things to, what do you call it, blindfolds. They blindfolded him, took him in a car, and when they took the blindfolds off, he was with the Taliban, and he told them what he wanted. And they granted him ceasefire days for Rotary to go in and do the immunizations there. Now, that's not the reason he was elected to the Board of Trustees, but that was Aziz Maman, one of our new trustees, that did that. And I just thought that was pretty awesome myself. Thought I'd share that with you. We also approved the committee structure for 2021, standing committees with audit, communications, constitution and bylaws, and that type of thing. We also approved a different structure, a more formalized form of the Rotary Act Committee, and then other committees like the International Assembly, Leadership Training and Development, and that type of thing. An item that had a lot of discussion at our meeting in October was approved in January. In January, Rotary, the Board of Directors, implemented a very strong adult harassment policy. We immediately almost had a few instances where there have been complaints of sexual harassment that we've had to deal with. And in dealing with those, we learned a lot of the details, the minutiae of what we should do in order and not order and that type of thing. So the board approved, based on the recommendation of staff and legal counsel, approved an update to our adult harassment policy. But more importantly, we requested that the Leadership Training and Development Committee incorporate this training on harassment at all future elect presidents training seminars and at the International Assembly. We are taking a strong position on that, and it's a very strong policy. So I was glad to see that we have approved that to come to International Assembly and PETS. And with that, I'll turn back to Stephanie to talk about goals and objectives for Rotary and the Foundation.
Thanks, David. And finally, the board adopted annual goals for both Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation. And the reason both are included, you may recall that Rotary announced a joint committee about 4 years ago to look at creating a strategic plan for the organization. So that plan and its vision statement and the priorities under it are for both Rotary and the Rotary Foundation. So there are 4 goals, and the first one is increase our impact. So the board approved 4 goals under that priority. The first one, eradicate polio and highlight Rotary's role. It's clear that, you know, we are not going to move in any other direction until we finish that job. So that is goal number 1 for increasing our impact. The second one is increase contributions to the annual fund and Polio Plus while still building the endowment fund. There is a special campaign. The endowment fund is attempting to reach $2.025 billion by the year 2025. So it's 2.025 by 2025. The third goal, improve the measurable impact of our district grants, our global grants, Polio Plus, and what we're doing with the Rotary Peace Centers. You know, impact is so important in the work that we do in terms of attracting new partners, attracting new donors, attracting new members. You know, there's a reason that Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation jumped on board and became one of the partners for the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And it was very simple. It was that from the get-go, we were able to talk about the impact we'll have once polio is eradicated. We've been able to talk about how many billions of dollars will be saved in healthcare costs, how many thousands of children are walking yearly because they're not afflicted by the disease. So impact is increasingly important as we look to our future. And number 4, we want to build new partnerships, including opportunities with governments, so that we can enhance the global footprint of the humanitarian work we do. Our second priority is expanding our reach, and there are 3 goals that have been approved. One is to increase and diversify participation by starting new clubs and different kinds of clubs and different kinds of channels for people to participate and experience the magic of Rotary, and also by attracting new members into our existing legacy clubs. A second goal is to increase the number of female members, members under 40, and Rotaractors who actually join Rotary. And the third goal is build awareness of Rotary and Rotarians as people of action. The third priority is enhance participant engagement. And again, there are 3 goals here. The first one, enhance engagement among Interact, Rotaract, and Rotary Club members and other Rotary participants. You know, these people, Interactors, Rotaractors, club members, you know, they're all people who are passionate about the work that we do, yet too infrequently we don't share information and we become siloed. So we want to make sure that we look at ways to engage those groups in a more meaningful way. The second goal, increase our collaboration between all participants, in particular between Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs. And the third goal, we want to look for ways to build new partnerships so that we can enhance the global footprint of the work we're doing. And finally, goal number 4 is increasing our ability to adapt. And we have 2 goals here that were approved. One, we want to implement adjustments to our volunteer leadership structure. What does that really mean? Well, it means that we need to begin looking at how do we make volunteer roles in our organization both meaningful and doable. You know, many Rotarians still work, still have family obligations. So we need to pay attention to how people have work-life balance and make sure that it fits with our leadership structures. And the second goal there is focus and potentially narrow our program efforts. You know, Rotary has been very good over the years at adding things, putting things in, a new program here, a new program there, but regrettably, we haven't been as good at looking at what is no longer working and paring down or changing things. So our second goal there is to really focus our work and possibly narrow our program efforts. Okay, David, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie. At this point, I'd like to open the floor for a minute or two just to see if anybody has any questions relative to the stuff that we've covered or any clarification that needs to be done on it. We have just emailed you a copy of the board highlights, so you'll have them for distribution if you like, but would entertain any questions if anybody has questions. And I did note that Andrew Lyman noted that in Florida, young adults 55 years old. So everybody sees that. Any questions from anyone? Feel free to just unmute and talk if there is. Okay, the video will be posted to the website. You will be getting, with it probably later today or tomorrow, you'll be getting a survey on this call, and you'll also be receiving a doodle survey for times that we could have our next call, which will be around the first or second week in February, because the board meeting is the week following the International Assembly. I would appreciate it if you would check that, at least do the doodle survey when you get it. Helps us try to get as many people as we can. The highest number we had today was about 52 people, and that's great. I appreciate all the time that you have invested with us today over the last half hour or so. Does anyone have any questions about the summit next week? Any general or specific questions that anyone has of it before we end our call?
David, I've got a quick question. This is Mike Dara, about the Rotaract changes. As you're aware, that got out a little earlier than many people anticipated. And I got a little bit of pushback from Rotarians that did not get the message that Rotaract is for young adults. Have you heard any pushback from Rotarians who are feeling as though we've created basically cannibalization of Rotary potentially?
I've not heard anything about cannibalization. I have heard some Rotaract side of the equation that had initial concern, as you said, had not heard that it was an organization continued to be an organization for young people. But once I explained and added that in, it seemed the tension seemed to go away. The thought is that we let the process be natural around the world, and in some parts of the world, in my area, we have Rotaractors that are also Rotarians at 25 years old. But in some areas of the world, like Andrew said just a few minutes ago, 55 is a young adult in some areas of the world. So I would encourage you to try to explain to them, one, and all of the stuff that is now being published from Rotary International that is going out on the social media from Rotary International, Facebook primarily, is trying to emphasize that it is an organization for young professionals or young adults. But I would encourage you to emphasize that. It seems to make it go away when you do that. Does that answer your point?
Perfect.
Okay, anyone else? Peter.
Yes, had a quick question with regard to a visit I did in 7020, and Stephanie had brought up about the goals to increase new types of clubs, and there was something called Early Act. Never heard of it, never saw it before, but it was basically a junior high school program for that age bracket, and it's non-sanctioned. It's by RI, from what I understand, they explained to me, but it was exciting to see 30 new students that are at that group that have signed on and being mentored by a local club to kind of get them early, so to speak. And I was just wondering if there was a conversation at the RI level to look at this, or had you guys heard about it?
Stephanie, is it okay, or do you want to take that? I'd be happy to.
Well, let me just comment, and then David, you can add on. Peter, it is true that Early Act is not a Rotary sanctioned program, but there are many Early Act programs around the country because it's a way, you know, I've never seen a Rotary Club anywhere that doesn't want to work with young people. So I think it's a way for those clubs who have an in with schools at various levels to extend Rotary in that direction. David?
Yes, and add on to what Stephanie's saying, Peter, for all of you, in case you haven't been involved with it, there's also another non-sanctioned group out there called Kid Act. That is, some of your Florida districts I know have that. In fact, there's one Kid Act organization somewhere in metropolitan Daytona Beach. I was there for a club charter, and they brought their Kid Act, KIDACT, club, and the president was 7 years old. So they are not sanctioned yet because they're still young and they're still being developed. As Stephanie said, there are some around the country of both of those organizations. And not speaking for Stephanie, but I firmly believe within the next year or two, you know, Rotary tires turn slow, unfortunately, but in the next year or two, I think that you will probably see them become official programs of Rotary, because it has already been discussed in the boardroom about whether they should be or should not be now. Did that answer your question, Peter?
Yes, it does. Thank you. And again, it was exciting to see 30 students. They're so excited about Rotary and learning about it. So just wanted to put that.
This is Pat Borowski from District 7610 in North Virginia. We have a number of middle schools in our district that are bona fide chartered Interact clubs. So we have it both in the high school and in the middle school level.
I'll just say awesome. That's great. Spread it prolifically all over these two zones, okay? I encourage you, while you're at the training next week, to bring this up and talk about that and get that word out to get younger people involved.
Surely, we'll be glad to do that for you.
Anyone else? Okay, we've been about 37 minutes. I hope that it's been worth your time. Stephanie and I both appreciate it, and we can't wait to be with you and shake your hands next week. All of you have a great evening.